So in this video, I'm going to show you how to take your final design, turn it into the HTML layout. To do that, I'm going to use this template here from the W3 CSS website that I showed you last week. This is a fully responsive layout, and the first thing we need to do is, step one, is to look at the design, figure out where the rows are, okay? And how wide they are, I should say. So let's look at this. Now the page actually starts here. This is my navigation bar, and we can see that's 100% of the screen. Okay, so in terms of fraction, it's just, let's just say it's 100%. That's fine. Now the next row down, let's switch colors. This is going to be my banner image, and again that's 100% of the screen. And here we have, in this row here, we've got 3 columns. Okay, now these are a third of the screen each, a third of the width each, and they've used this padding here, right? They've got some padding between them. So I know it may look like they're actually less than a third because of this padding here, but basically that's the edge of the screen there. That's right up at the edge of the screen. So you know how these, in fact I can show you the website. So once we've done the HTML for this, which I'm going to show you now how to do that in writinjg, you're going to find that this responsive layout here behaves as following. As we go from a very large screen, like a tablet or a desktop, to a very small screen, we're going to find that these 3 columns here are going to behave like this. So this column here is going to be on top, this one will come next, closely followed by this one, and they'll all take up 100% of the screen, and then the footer will come down underneath all of those. Okay, anyway, let's see how that works. So here we are in writinjg, and we started off with all this stuff at the top of the page. Now this little bit here, what I'm doing there, I'm just grabbing that from the template from here, from the top of the Try It W3 CSS page for this. Okay, so I'm just pasting that in, and that links to the W3 CSS style sheet. Now this extra bit here, you may be wondering what that is. That's one of my favorite features of W3 CSS, and that is it gives us amazing control over colors. All the colors in W3 CSS have been designed to work together and to look good together. They're based on popular stationery and motorway signs. So stuff that's really eye-catching but also works well together. Okay, so please make note of this facility. There it all is explained for you there. Now a particular aspect of that, slightly more advanced, is the idea of WC color themes, W3 CSS color themes. Now we take this little bit of code here. Notice how it's got a link to another style sheet, this time W3 theme Indigo CSS. So we're going to copy that, Control C, okay, take that over and paste that into your writinjg underneath. Now the wonderful thing about this is we can just change that to different colors, and it works like this. You're going to love this. So this is the Indigo theme, and you can access all of these different colors by just assigning this class to some of your divs. Okay, so look, there's a div there, and that div, which is highlighted over here, this has got the W3 theme. Okay, so that's the W3 L3 color, and this one here, well, I'll show you how it works now over here. So if I just change that over to red, all of a sudden you're going to see we get a whole range of different red colors as well. So it's a very professional idea to design your site using all these different themes, different shades of the same color, by making use of one of these lovely W3 CSS themes. Okay, and then you can restyle your whole portfolio by just changing one line of code. Now, just a word of warning, if you've got this link in all of your pages, you will have to change it on every single page. If you have this style sheet as an external style sheet, then you'd only have to change it once. Okay, anyway, let's get back to actually doing the coding. So, first thing we need to do is define this top row here. Okay, so I'm going to call it navbar. That will be the ID for this div. And the class, well, it doesn't really matter what class I give it because it fills the whole screen, which is natural behavior for a div. Okay, so here we go. Start the body tag. Okay, notice how it's automatically indented here, just perfect. Div ID equals, putting our attributes in speech marks like this, navbar. Okay, now doesn't need any W3 classes because its behavior is behaving naturally. Now, so we're now moving on to the banner image. Okay, again, that doesn't really need too much special going on there because it's behaving naturally. So I'm just going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it underneath and just edit the actual ID. Okay, I'll call that banner image because that's where my large image is going to go. Okay, now I'm just going to put some words in here just so I can see where those divs are actually located on the screen and how they're behaving. Notice because we're using the green editor, the changes are picked up automatically. Okay, now this is a little trick for you. I'm just going to add in here, because I want this to be a different color. I want to make all these divs different colors so I can see how they're developing. So remember the code. If we go back to the Triad editor, you can just take the code if you like, cut and paste it. So we'll just take that female 5 and we'll paste that in here. Okay. And notice how, has it changed color? No, it hasn't changed color. Okay, why is that? Well, if you look up here actually, this is the problem. This is a relative path to the theme red. We need the absolute path. So I'm just going to grab this lot. This is the absolute part of the path to W3 CSS. I'm going to pop that in there. And there we are. All of a sudden we've got a nice little pink nav bar. Let's put a different, okay, we'll take this code here, copy this, paste it in here, and we'll change it to L3. There we are. Okay, so the advantage of doing this is we can see where the different divs are. Okay, and don't forget, if you wanted to change the color, you can change it like that very easily. Now, so here we're getting to the complicated part. Now, this time we're going to define this middle row here with 3 columns which are a third width each. So what I'm going to do is take this code again and just copy that because it's just another div. Okay, I've got to change the ID though. Okay, please feel free to pause this if I'm going too fast. I often deliver things at quite a pace, but I've only got 15 minutes to do this whole thing. So let's give it a sensible ID. Let's call it content row. Now, class, we're going to give it this class. Okay, let me show you why this is. W3 CSS, if we want a page to be responsive, we have to first of all define the row. So all responsive columns, like these guys here, this is a responsive column, these all have to be inside responsive rows, and this is the CSS for it. Okay, now I'm going to change that slightly. I'm going to change it to W3 CSS row with padding. And the reason I've done that is because if I didn't give it padding, it wouldn't have these nice gaps in between the columns. Okay, they'd all just be touching each other and my content would look messy. So, W3 row padding, and let's write in here. We're not actually going to keep that text there because I just want some more divs now. So that's for the outside. Now, let's do another div. I'm not going to give it an ID this time. No, actually I will. I'll give it an ID just so I can style it if I want. Column 1 we'll call it. Okay, naturally we'll call the other ones column 2s. Now we're going to give this the class of W3 column. Now that tells the browser that it's going to be responsive and to look up W3 CSS, W3 col, and it's also going to be W3 third. Actually, to be honest, we don't need that W3 col because we're not using a 12 column layout. We're just going to use simple fractions. So we can do that. And let's give it a color as well. So because we're already in the class, we don't need to write that again. We just need to take a pick of the color themes. And I'm just going to go for D1 now. And don't forget, you can always whip back over to the Triad editor and remind yourself what those codes actually stand for. Okay, here's a nice little color template for me. D1. Now, why can't I see my div? Because I haven't put any content in it yet. There it is. Okay. Now, we want 3 of those. I'm going to make them all different colors so we can distinguish between them just by changing one attribute. So I'm doing Control C, copy. Control V. Now, what do I need to change? First of all, I need to change column 1 to column 2, and I'm going to change D1 to D2. So notice how this one is slightly darker than the last column, and why not just write here content 1, and here we can have content 2. Now I'm going to copy all of this, Control C, keep my indentation, and just edit column 3. Let's give it a D3 as well, why not, just to make it slightly darker again, content 3. Okay, now I'm not quite sure why I was expecting to get padding in between my rows there, but I think maybe the padding has just appeared at the edges. You can see it's right at the edge there. Let's see what happens if I take away that padding attribute, or if I take away that part of it. You see what happens? We just lose the padding on the edge there. Okay, so I think I'll keep that there. If I want to put padding in my divs, there is a way of doing that, but I'm not going to show you right now because I want to keep this video short. Okay, moving on, let's do the footer. So back over here, let's take one of these 100% width divs, copy that, it needs to go way down here. Now we're outside, notice how my divs are all lined up, right? So the opening tag for this content row here, the opening div tag is exactly in vertical line with the closing div tag, and there's nothing else in there. Everything which is indented is within that div. Here comes the footer. Okay, footer. What shall we call it? Let's try our themes. Let's just go for D4, shall we? Nice and dark. D4. And we'll change it to footer. Okay, now you might be wondering why it all looks so tiny. Well, that's because we haven't got any content. So one of my little tricks is, rather than writing lorem ipsum dolor blah blah blah, I just do that. I just take the content and I just make sure I have a space as well, and I just copy it up like that. Okay, so it sort of simulates a bit of content. And you can see the page is behaving as we would hope. Now, what I can do is change the size of the text a little bit. So let's go for banner image. Let's just make this really big text. W3XXX large. Alright, we could even go bigger than that. We could even go W3 jumbo. Okay, so that just kind of simulates a large banner. Now, my layout is complete. Let's just check it's responsive. So big screen. We've got our 3 columns of content. As we go to a small screen, that's nice. All of a sudden, everything is in. Imagine this is your iPhone screen, and now it's easily scrollable. Okay, so just to recap, let's just go through the steps to success. Look at your design, figure out where your rows are. Now divide your rows into columns. Write down the fractions of the screen that each needs. Do the HTML. Ask for help if you get stuck. Okay, so I'm here to help you, just got to ask for some help. Next lesson, I will promise you the whole lesson, I will help you debug your HTML, but I would seriously appreciate it if you could make your HTML nice and tidy like this. Okay, indented code, everything which is inside is inside. Right, I hope that was helpful. It was probably way too fast for you. Remember, you have a pause button. All you have to do is pause, rewind, and go through again. Okay, I'll maybe do a slower video in the future. Thanks for watching.